haven't played as much Overwatch here lately, but I've still been playing some.
Sure, sure. Okay, okay. Um, and I'm looking at your form here, and we're going to be looking more on tank today.
Yeah, I think this one I'm gonna kind of gear toward tank.
Okay, sounds good. Is that just more of a expanding your hero pool just for the fun of things? Or is there a specific reason why you made that pivot?
Actually, it's in Overwatch 1, I was actually a tank main,
Mm-hmm.
but I mostly played off tank. So when it went to Overwatch 2, I never really adjusted that well. So it's
Mm.
kind of just wanting to get that back a little bit.
Mm. Okay,
Like in
sounds good.
Overwatch 1, I mostly played like Diva, Wrecking Balls, stuff like that.
Sure. Okay.
Zarya.
So, what are you playing nowadays? Same kind of hero pool, mixing it around.
I've been kind of working on Wrecking Ball some. I'm really out of practice with him. And I never really took that much time for Winston until recently, so I've been working on Winston a lot.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Same kind of rules really apply with all roles when it comes to hero pools. So for you, is it's kind of like where's the compromise between having a fun hero pool while still having a productive hero pool, right? And not playing like every single day. So
Yeah.
if I were to ask you like what were your three favorite tanks to swap around to, what would you say?
It's definitely Winston Diva Wrecking Ball.
Okay, sounds good. Good choices. All dive characters, but all have like different strengths and weaknesses as well. So
Yeah,
okay.
I will say like if I play Circuit Royale or something like there's Sigma, like I can play Sigma
Mm-hmm.
to an extent, but I'm not like an expert or anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, any questions about practice, mechanics, warm up? We've talked about a lot of other things as well. And even in your form, you said a little bit of understanding and mentality. So, I guess what questions or what difficulties have you come up with since starting tank
Okay, I
or
guess
restarting tank? I suppose.
yeah, I guess the biggest thing that's the hardest thing for me to adjust to is learning how to kind of enable my team a little more.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have plenty of games where like I do well, but there's a lot of like miscommunication for when we're going in, and I'll think my team is going to walk forward. So a lot of issues around like when to go in, when not to, things like that.
Sure. So it's kind of like a. I feel like I can perform well, but I'm not sure if I'm actually performing well as a teammate. Basically.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
there is a lot of that.
Okay, well, we'll take a look at the timing side of things. And we'll also look at something that I like to look at, which is how much of a stat sponge are you as well, in terms of how much damage are you doing versus how much healing are you taking, kind of a thing. Because it's really
Yeah,
easy with tanks specifically to really be a stat farmer and yet not be doing as much as you could or should with those resources. So then either we need to find a way to cut down on the amount of resources you're demanding or to do more with the resources that you're getting, depending on the
yeah.
situation.
I will say my hero pool makes it's a challenge. In gold right now, like my hero pool is tough
Well, you're playing high
because
skill floor heroes too.
well, I mean it's partly that, but it's partly like gold. I swear, like probably 80% of my games, my supports are Mercy Moira.
Mm,
I
mm,
mean,
mm,
it's a staggering amount of Mercy Moira,
mm, 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 mm. Well, that's hard, right?
and
No range healing.
it's tough when you're playing like Winston or somebody.
Um, in those situations, I guess just to kind of like as a one-off tip for that, with Winston, what that will probably mean is that a lot of your dive cycles will mean that you're diving back to your team after you put pressure. Whereas, like, if you had like an Ana, you could kind of stay on an angle or stay on the high ground. So you kind of
Right.
set up, dive, jump back to your team. Set up, dive, jump back to your team. You don't always have to do that, but you might need to do that more with that composition. It also depends on how proactive your Mercy is. Like in theory, depending on the map, like Mercy can help you out a lot on angles and flanks, like in high grounds and so on. But obviously, it's dependent on the situation and dependent on the Mercy too. So
Yeah.
okay. Any questions about strategy or anything that's come up, I guess, in the training the last few weeks?
Um I do kind of have one it's kind of on the topic, but kind of not. Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's too broad of a question, but I am curious. Like, and I guess as we go through the video, we'll kind of answer this. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like how to kind of carry in the lower rank games because there's so many games that I feel like I don't know what I could have done here. And I feel like if I leave it up to my team in some of these lower rank games, it's just kind of, I've got DPS running down main and dying before the fight even starts or something
Mm-hmm.
weird like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's just how to actually add value in that situation because there's a lot of that right now.
The reality of the situation is that, like it is with every role, is you just do your job and then do your job better and more efficiently, and that's pretty much it. There isn't any sort of specific adjustment that you would make in gold as opposed to any other rank outside of just increasing the quality of your play. That's pretty much
Yeah.
it. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
one thing that
gotcha.
we could do is in terms of like managing those extreme outlier positions where teammates are kind of feeding or staggering. Like we can talk about like the timing and the team play aspect of stuff because that's something we've already mentioned. But in terms of like specific strats, you don't really, there isn't really, and you also, the thing is, the good thing is you don't even really need to either. Is the thing as well. Like I remember when I was silver, gold, and I felt like this mentality, like where I had to make these phenomenal, crazy plays to be able to get out of here. Otherwise, I was going to be stuck, and that's just not really the case. It might be in certain games that might be the case, but then that's just you're expected to just lose a certain percentage of your games because to carry those games you might need to be diamond. Like sometimes people just play really, really bad, and that's just
Yeah.
unfortunate, and that's how it goes. But good question though. I mean, I just wouldn't worry too much about it, and we'll give you some of those things that you need to be doing, obviously.
Yeah,
And
I would kind of like for you to kind of keep an eye out, point out the times because I have noticed the trend that uh when my team does start kind of doing that, then I start trying to do too much and then I kind
that's
of
it.
feed.
That's just it, right? That's just it right there. So, like, I think for you is it's keeping yourself locked into just do what I need to do my job, don't do anything more. Because what ends up happening, and I've done this myself many times, and I've seen many people do it, is that, like you said, in the compensation of feeling like I need to do more, you actually play worse because you try to do
Yeah.
something that is just a forced play style without actually just playing smart Overwatch, and then you end up basically just compounding the issue. So yeah,
Yeah.
agreed, agreed. Okay, any other questions?
I think that's it for now.
All right, you want to shoot me a replay code here?
Yeah, give me just 1 second.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Now, why this code in particular? What happened in this game?
Um, it's this is it's a like I said, I haven't been playing as much. So this one is kind of a it's just it was a close game. It went back and forth. Like my team played pretty well, but we had some moments that were like, yeah, we just made some really weird plays, like me included, all of us.
Right, it happens. Okay, so monkey all the way through. Good to see.
Yeah.
Let's take a look here. So, what does Winston do well? And I think the key thing for you is not just explaining what Winston does well, but what does Winston do well uniquely compared to some of your other tanks within your same hero pool?
I feel like as far as like taking space, being a distraction, things like that, he's one of the best at that. He definitely does well at diving supports. I mean, that's his number one thing.
Yep. Yep.
But his bubble, I feel like makes him so versatile. Like you can use it so different than other shields because I can like block hills, I can block damage. Like there's a lot of things I can do with
Yep.
it.
Yep. What makes him unique compared to, like, let's say a Wrecking Ball or Devo in regards to that bubble? Like, what does that actually mean for him?
I feel like in a way he can play kind of more aggressive in a sense. Like he can kind of command that space a little better than the others.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. And I think that's a really important way of how he's played differently than Diva or Wrecking Ball, where Diva and Wrecking Ball are small pressure window, relax, small pressure window, relax, small pressure window, relax. Winston might be like that sometimes. But as you said, that bubble is just better than adaptive shields. It's better than Matrix. And so you can command that space immediately, right now. Do damage, put just pressure and distract right now, immediately. Block that sleep dart, block that rock, block that burst damage. And that comes with responsibility is the key thing. Because when you don't have bubble compared to a Diva or a Wrecking Ball, you're significantly weaker, right? So it's essentially hitting that power spike on the nose with your pressure output. And if you don't hit that power out spike, or even if you do, immediately afterwards, disengaging, playing careful, playing slow, playing cautious, and not taking a lot of action afterwards, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can do more after your bubble, but you need to be cautious because you could either die, or going back to something that we talked about earlier, you could demand a lot of healing when your support should be healing or doing damage elsewhere. So what I want to look at, and generally the main, like we'll talk about like the three big problems that most Winston players in lower ranks do. Number one, they don't set up. They don't take angles or flanks, or not even flanks, but like looking for situations to be able to apply pressure onto a backline, a squishy, or an angle or something like that. They'll just kind of just jump in, right? Number two is they don't really mechanically execute well. And I think that's the key thing, is that people look at Winston as like, it's not a very mechanically demanding hero. Maybe comparatively, yes, but it still demands you to be landing deliberately, zapping deliberately, occasionally using your alternate fire, landing directly on targets, placing your bubble specifically where it can split off damage, and you're not taking damage inside or outside of the bubble, right? And then the third one is and this one is the one I probably talk about, I think, maybe almost every single Winston review. When you don't have bubbles, what we just said, be really cautious about how you take pressure or take space afterwards. A lot of the time, it's about a violent, aggressive jump, and then a very placid in between.
Yeah.
And you're allowing your team to capitalize off of the pressure that you've just done. And a lot of Winstons complain about their teammates not taking space with them because they continue to bleed damage and demand resources after they're no longer useful. Find your value, chill, and then find, so that then when you get your bubble back, you'll be full HP and able to go back in again. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So let's set up, let's get a good dive, let's see some mechanics, let's see you chill, and then that's pretty much Winston in a nutshell. Like, there's a lot of dynamics and nuance with the character, but the playstyle loop is pretty simple. So example, like right now, you're setting up. I know why, because you're going to jump high ground. You're going to jump high ground from a bit of an angle, a bit of a surprise, right?
Yeah, I like the underneath on this side with Winston because I can kind of peek and look and decide when I'm going to go.
Right. So you're like, Juno, kind of tricky. That's fine. And then this is your spike in value. You see what I'm saying? Now, I can look at this in hindsight and go, Juno's fine, but if there's another target available that's more static, you're going to get a lot more damage out of jumping them instead. Like, this is way more attractive, right? Juno is squishier, but really your chances of killing and or forcing a big mess is way higher here, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when I saw the Juno alone, I just thought, that's who I'm going for right now.
Right. That being said, regardless, the setup phase was really good because the setup was good because the Juno wasn't expecting it. And when the enemy team has to peel you off, look at the way that their crosshairs have to move. Sigma all the way turned around. Moira all the way turned around. Sojourn all the way turned around. Juno all the way out of position. And do you see like kind of how like blue circles, look at how they've held space here. Do you see this? And then look at how they've vacated space here. You notice that? And what does that allow for your Sojourn and Mercy to do? Well, they have a ton of value now because you created that value. And so now the key thing here is, even though I don't like your target, and you kind of lost the Juno for just a second. Yeah, it got attention. And now, crucially, you've also not really taken a lot of damage. So what should you do here? This is the mechanic / disengage / don't take damage step 3 of our process.
I'm pretty sure if I remember right, I think I go up top with my Mercy, but I may be wrong.
So you get all those zaps and then you deepen.
No, I go
now,
go
this is a great example of, on paper, you should not do this. Why? on paper?
Probably because of our support comp, and
Well,
I
simply put,
don't
just for
have
you.
bubble
That's
also.
it. That's it. That's it. You don't have bubble. But as you know, there's always exceptions to the rule. So, like, what about this situation says that this feels okay?
The tracer was there.
The tracers, there's more than that, though. Keep going. There's a few other factors at play here that you had vision of.
Both of the supports are low ground.
Supports
can't
out of
get up there
position.
easy.
So this is a completely isolated, low HP target with tracer. And what's the status of your health, too?
Oh, I'm pretty much full.
You're pretty much full, right? They're not always going to be that way, but for this situation. So this is kind of like a great example of where like exactly what we talked about is not applicable here. And so this Sojourn will probably die. And there it is, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
And so even here, right, like maybe you should have waited an extra second before you did engaged here. Because you were almost a bubble, right? And this is not an isolated target.
Because of the bubble, yeah.
Right.
I kind of went early, but I was banking on it coming back.
Right. But this is one of those situations where it feels okay, but I really would have encouraged you to wait an extra second or so. Because look at your armor, because you drop a little early. And then I mean, we're talking about a half of a second away from getting accretion by that Sigma, right? So
yeah,
just keep that in mind. If he'd had that accretion, you would have, and used it earlier, you would have lost a lot of HP. You would have been down around to about 350 HP, 300 HP. And just because you didn't wait 1 second. So that was a great example of like where you were able to cheat the rules because you saw an opportunity, and where you cheated the rules again, but you probably shouldn't have, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, nice setup. Good timing because your team was taking space at the same time. Good jump here again as well. I kind of like the little bit of an angle that you have here, kind of expecting where that Genji's going to kite to. And I'm just going to kind of like skip ahead here because you guys are appearing to snowball these pretty... Oh, maybe not. Okay, never mind. Disregard. I spoke too soon.
There's kind of like points during this game where we do. And I kind of picked this code because like it was this morning.
Yeah.
This is a warm-up game. Like I'm just getting on really.
Yep.
And I just felt like I didn't have a lot of good codes for you because I haven't been playing as much. So this morning I was just trying to get something to use.
And this will be very useful. Now, I want to point something out right here. This is going to go back again to step 3. So you're down a few here. You need to chill, and your bubble's expired. What should your first step be here?
Probably back out.
Back out, or this is a really interesting way of looking at it. Can I safely set up without taking damage?
Yeah.
Where would you jump here? Where would you jump? Because I think there's an option here.
I'm kind of wondering. I don't know if it's too much to go above them, like above the bus, basically.
That's literally perfect. That's exactly what I was thinking. Because you're jumping away from them, you need a second or two before your bubble. But when you get bubble here, this is going to be monstrous, right? And the thing is you might get here, and they're going to be so scared, they're going to run away, and you're going to create space without even bubble.
Okay.
And if they don't, you have the perfect engage. That is far preferable to you standing here, trying to kind of like do damage and chill and wait for your bubble, while face tanking 2 people shooting you in the face.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because by the time that you actually get your bubble, right, that Sigma hits accretion. By the time you actually get your bubble, you're demanding mercy pocket, and you're down 217 armor, right? It's just not it. You get what I'm saying? So this is kind of where we're finding like your spike in value is just not as juicy as it should be because you just got crushed and you didn't set up instead. Because that's one thing you can do while you're waiting for bubble. You can evaluate the battlefield and ask yourself, can I jump in a location where I can set up? Just like before fight here, you were flanking underneath here. Here, you're doing a little bit more directly, but you're jumping up top here, getting ready to go for backline. If you can safely set up, you can do. That's something you can do between bubbles. Yep, this is fine. Yeah, you have some choices here. I think, again, like the static targets are the most attractive. But even forcing like a fade or a flight from far is not the end of the world. And then you probably...
I think I go fair.
Yeah,
Sure
I think fair is better for me because even if the target kind of sucks, I really like this position for you, right? So if she flies away, I mean, look, you know, this is not useful. This is kind of decent, you know. And then the best part about it is then I don't like what you do here. Because what can you do with the...
trying too hard to steer it.
You're right, yeah, she's one, so I completely understand. But really, you could have also just dropped on her, and you're full HP, and you don't need a bubble for a Juno. If this has been an Ana, maybe, but yeah. But either way, you're still creating space, and the best part about it is because you've been good with your cover usage, look at your HP, look at your bubble. You see it?
Yeah. Yeah.
You've zoned out...
much.
You're not demanding anything, and you've zoned out 2 people as well. And so now, and because you've also set up on the angle here, maybe it wasn't as good as the high ground, you're also now, once again, directly on the backline without even having to use jump. So now you can use jump to get out, you could use jump to pursue, and there you go. And then now here, if you want to, you can just keep going because you have primal. So let's get in there and let's get... See, this is a little too much all fire. You got bubble. You got like I went damage. I went death right now. You know, like
Okay,
I want you on that Moira. I want you on that Juno. I want to force the support ults, and I want to force them now. Because this is kind of where you're using your bubble to use your alternate fire, but that's not good enough. When you jumped the Pharah, you ended up using alternate fire because she flew away from you. You're not forcing anybody to fly away from you now, and that's the problem.
Okay.
Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Nice. Was that the last? Oh no, did he rock your Mercy? Wait, what happened here? Oh yeah, dude, your Mercy took it. I was wondering. I was like, oh, the last frame of your bubble blocked it. That's incredible. Nope, your Mercy
I was
just
backing into the bubble because I thought he
your
was
Mercy
gonna use
just
it on
took
me.
it. That's just terrible. Okay, yeah. Well, either way, yeah, the bubble is good. Jump's good. She's not going to even get a chance to use her ultimate. You can jump that Moira. There's the bubble. The damage is good. That Primal's fine because he might have killed you if he'd hit that accretion. But yeah, this is just one of those fights where you just needed to be a little bit more decisive with when you were popping that that engage. And a little bit more, okay, I have full HP, I have bubble. Let's actually do something. Okay. But yeah, I mean, really, I think your setups have been probably your strong point, I think. Outside of that 1 second point fight, I think you've done a good job, like, utilizing high ground, looking for opportunities to kind of harass backline.
Well, they get worse, though.
Yeah, well, it does get worse. It gets harder, too, because if they end up going, like, let's say Winston counters, a lot of your value comes from, you know, setting up, using that bubble, baiting all that attention, and then just living. Really not doing a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here. So here... Think strategically here. This is a very flat point. It's pretty tough for Winston here. But you can make it work.
Yeah.
So how do you approach this?
I should go top.
Well, what does top really provide you?
Or I could wrap around, actually.
So
I think wrapping around's better.
quick question. What does this provide to you? Because you see what you see here?
Yeah.
You're still getting your head blown
It's
off.
a setup.
You know? But it's a setup, but
Yeah.
it's still the same distance as where you are right now. Like, you want a
That's
high
true,
ground that's
and that
over
Ash
people.
is going to be shooting me the entire time if
That's
I go
it.
top there.
I like what you said afterwards. I like this approach here if you are going to force Winston here. So you can kind of wait for the cart to push up to here. Chill, 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 chill. Okay, now we're engaging on that Sigma. Now is a good time for me to trade on backline, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of a good way to look at it. Because you are thinking about backline, but the problem is that you're thinking about backline through the tank. Which is
Yeah, you're right.
lacks nuance. It doesn't cut off their disengage, and it also means that you probably take a lot of damage on entry. So I like the Genji focus here. I like it. I just would have preferred the Ashe and Juno instead. I think you would have gotten more bang for your buck. That being said, the bubble placement's good. The mechanics are good. You're going to get a lot out of it. And then you're going to pursue because you see my Mercy Zen, I'm full HP, and I don't need bubble for a Moira Juno. And I agree.
Yeah.
So this is, again, where you're breaking the rules, but breaking the rules appropriately. Oh my gosh, there's no way. He keeps trying for you. He's going to go... Ay, ay, ay. That's unreal. All right, well, good stuff so far. Good stuff. Probably going to need to disengage this, sadly, with the way the 2 CP spawns we got going on here, basically. Feels like Overwatch 1. I kind of like the setup here, though. I mean, this is fairly useful because this is an angle to get directly onto backline, right? So I think this is all right. I don't know if you guys can fight this right now. I really don't know if you can. Yeah, this is just... It's just lame, you know?
Yeah.
Because, like, think about it this way. You have bubble. You have jump. What should you do here?
I should jump instead of bubbling where I'm at.
I agree. Like get on something. Get on the Moira here. The Moira would be great. You could force Cole
Yeah.
and Juno ult, and then yeah, you lose this fight, but man, you put yourself in a great spot for next fight. And maybe you get lucky. Maybe you win. Because like I don't think the trade versus Reaper is like the worst thing in the world. If you have bubble, like it's not terrible. But why would you choose that over something else that's available? Right? I think is the question.
Yeah.
Your life weaver's like panicking and just like, I love this life rip. You can just tell he just doesn't know what to do.
He pulls me out like off of a low HP target into the tank a few times in this game.
That's funny. Well, he's trying.
Yeah, I think if I remember right, round 2 they go Orisa and he starts like pulling me back when the Orisa's shooting him to help him when
I
I'm
see.
on their back line.
Yeah.
And he blames me the whole time. He's saying tanks throw.
Well, of course, because he's dumb. Nobody
He goes-
people don't understand what Winston does. They just don't understand.
Yeah, like I remember the stat line because I remember our DPS like kind of defending me because he ends up finishing this game like 5 and 16, something like that. And he's like blaming everybody else.
So this might be where a setup from high ground's a little bit better, because where's the enemy team? I mean, you can't see them, but I think that's very telling, right?
Yeah.
They're under you, and so like even approaching from here, dodging the Sigma spam, and then having like a more immediate access to backline is pretty useful. So, you know, I caution you from jumping right now, and I'm glad you're waiting.
I waited when I saw Tracer is when I went.
Well, I'm glad you're looking at your Tracer, but I'm looking in the bottom right. Bubble.
Yeah.
You see it?
Yeah,
Right
bubble
there.
as well.
Yeah. Bubble is, frankly, honestly, even more important. Because even if you don't have Tracer follow-up, I know your team can shoot Sigma, right? That's good enough for me. That's good enough for me. Winning that tank trade because I'm zoning out resources, and that Sigma's not going to be playing the game as good as I am because I'm just the greatest, right? Plus, you have Primal Rage, and he doesn't.
And neither of his supports are going to be looking at him because
and that's it exactly.
we're all over him.
And that's it exactly. So this is what we want. I actually kind of like this. Like, you're just not going to do a lot with an active Cole and a Reaper in your face. So just chill here, wait for your next bubble, and then Primal Rage here. So let's get in. Let's get in. I knew it was too good to be true. You needed to go because you have the resources. What should you do here? Chain it up for me.
Probably jump Juno and bubble.
You got it. Jump Juno bubble and then Primal Rage. Primal Rage is a weird ult. It's actually just, in many ways, objectively worse than just zapping people in like 30-40% of situations. Because you don't have the CC immunity that you do with bubble, or the burst damage immunity you have with bubble, or the boop immunity you have with bubble. And it's also a lot harder to do damage. So a jump bubble to force a bunch of resources, get them low, and then to finish the kill with extra mobility, that's what you want. Like, you're going to make a big noise with this ult, but also people are just going to start ignoring you. You notice that? So it's like, it's just not always the most useful thing in the world. So that being said, your initial setup for the fight was good. Your patience with bubble and with your Tracer was also good. Your target priority for the most part, outside of getting a little bit too zoned in on that Reaper, was good. And so when you do good things, you cap points. And that's exactly what happened here. So yeah, nice job. Any questions so far?
No, I think it's pretty clear right now. Okay. There's a lot more to critique on the defense round. I'll say that.
We'll take a look here. I appreciate you being here.
There's one really good moment where I'm gonna fat finger bubble, and it's gonna be, you're gonna get a good laugh out of it.
Okay, I'm ready for it. This is weird, but where your Tracer and Pharah are fighting is also weird. So I respect it. I mean, you got to compliment your team's value. Okay, I want you to big brain your jump here. Big brain your jump. Where should you jump here? Because I don't hate this. Top
I think
where?
Top. Above Genji right there. Or maybe even Bus. One of the two.
I like Bus better because I do think you ought to do damage right now. Like, they are encroaching on your space and your Tracer is here. I like Bus because it gives you a little bit more cover and you can still do full zapping, right? So you're about to jump here. Let me be very clear. This is good. Okay? This is good. You are coming in from an angle, full HP, with bubble, landing on squishies at the same time as your team is fighting. We talked about team play, right? This is team play. Why? What can your team do to help you here?
Well, Tracer's behind, so Tracer will be coming in to help me, and also the the Pharah can just live with both supports, and she
Yep.
can trade out with the tank.
I mean, she's not only in the tank, but she's got a great angle to just spam this right here. So you are going
Yeah.
to get follow up. Are you going to get follow up on the same targets? I don't know, but you will get follow up here, and that's really 95% of good team play. It's just ensuring that where I take my engagements is where my team can actually do something, and you're doing that right here. So this is good. This is good. You're checking a lot of boxes here. When I ask you to go bust, it's just more of like a tiny little strategic detail, but it's really not that important. Bubble timing is good. You're going to live this. You're going to be able to do a lot of damage. There's that's Fortify, Javelin Spin. Let's see what else we got here. Fortify, Javelin Spin, Suzu. Let's see. Pylon, Shift. I mean, you just forced like 5 cooldowns. That's insane. And you did a lot of damage. And now the Genji's out of position. And now you're going to jump the Genji even though you don't have bubble. But you have enough HP and he is isolated. I think this is okay. Yeah, that was huge. And the best part about it is look at their HPs and look at your team's HPs. That's really what's interesting here. That's really what we want. You see it?
Yeah.
That's
Low
exact-
resources,
really
and we
low-
still got all the cooldowns.
Right. You have, not only are they low resources, but they're also low HP too. Like that's perfect. Okay, so then now you have, because you've set that up, because you disengaged and played it smart, what could you do right now? What should you do right now?
Probably jump Orisa.
That's where you're wrong.
Wrong? Yeah, okay. I was
So-
wondering if I should contest point with her on it.
So it's understandable because like, oh, I got to worry about point. And yeah, I get it. I want you to win the fight first. Point only really becomes a problem if it's like, oh, they're going to cap or there's only 2 ticks or 1 tick, right? You need to finish these guys off. You have them reeling. You need to finish them off. Do not let them recover.
That right there is what I wish all of my gold teammates that I get watched videos like yours, which I know they don't. Like a lot of people don't watch creators and learn about the game, but like I see so many times where I'm like, we're on Numbani. Why are we just like standing point when they're doing their first initiate? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, so this is where like even with gold teammates, doing the right thing will still work. It won't work every time, but you will still win more games making the right decisions. You don't go, oh, gold, I have to help mark their team. No, you don't. If you do that, you lose games in gold. That's it.
Yeah, my team is smarter about it here, and that's why we had a good game. But like, I have a lot of them where it's like, I have a Cass Ana that just walk up and they stand by the payload.
I understand.
And that's
I understand.
the first team fight.
And if that happens, remember the goal is that as long as your team is fighting at the same time as you, that's okay. So like, for example, if everybody in your team is focusing the tank right now and you zone out the backline, that's good. That's what we want. That's what we want.
That's
and,
fair.
and right now your team is fighting. So you need to go in. You need to finish those kills. You need to finish these squishies because an Orisa, even without Fortify, is just not that great of a use of resources for you. So unless she's going to full cap the point by herself, and she's not going to, this is not smart. This Kiriko needs to be dead. This Idiari needs to be dead. This soldier needs to be dead. Your Tracer might be dead now. And ironically, your Life Weaver is so dense that he's going to die to a solo Orisa anyway. So,
yeah.
And you see, like, all that, and what did you get out of it? For what? For what? You just let the Orisa kill both supports? But you know what? You weren't going to help them anyway. If they're going to be stupid, let them be stupid and win the game. You know?
Okay, that's fair.
Because she's not going to... Okay, she just barely dies. 2 for 1. And really, your opportunity to kill backline is kind of gone now. Because you just don't have the HP anymore. I mean, your Tracer is deadlifting this fight right now, frankly.
Yeah.
Like, you guys had no business winning this. It's all been off of your Tracer and Pharah. Okay, does that kind of make sense?
No, it does. It makes perfect sense.
You got to administer the medicine even if they don't know it's good for them.
It doesn't matter if Orisa's on point, because if I stop the rest of the team from even making it to her, she's just going to die there anyway.
And even if she doesn't
instead of
die,
focusing so much on contesting and making sure they don't get ticks on the point.
the most important thing that you can do, and the thing that I opened up my tank guide from like a year and a half ago, was with you need to do your job. You need to do what you do best. You don't need to sit there and babysit the enemy tank. If you're a good anti-tank tank, your job is to babysit the enemy tank. You are not a good anti-tank tank. You have mobility, you have staging, you have setups, you have high grounds, you have squishy backlines, and you're playing patty cake with a fortified armored horse, right? It just doesn't make any sense. So it's in your best interest of your team. It is in the best interest of your team for you to do what Winston does best, which is not to contest Reapers and Torbs and Orissas most of the time. It's just to do what you do best. Because otherwise, why you're playing Winston, right? Like, just go pick Zarya or Roadhog or Mirror or Orisa, right?
Yeah.
Now, this is what I'm concerned about. Because you're like, oh, my bubble placement's a little awkward. He's going to fan me inside the bubble. So your mechanics here are bad. This is where, like, the bubble placement and timing is really important. But there's something that's really, really important in terms of team play right now. I don't know that I have a lot of confidence that you have set up appropriately here. Because is your team fighting right now?
Not really. That's kind of what I was waiting for, and it just never really starts.
Well, that's the thing, is you need to look at your team's position before this stuff happens. So, like, right now, we look like we're pushing forward. So, actually, in terms of where we're fighting, it's okay. So then I'm going to ask you in terms of setup. Where could you be for an optimized angle or approach on backline here that will allow you to do more damage safely?
Probably up the stairs a little.
Up the stairs a little? Why?
Because I can just jump straight to the back line and kind of ignore the cast that's running.
You
up
got
to
it. You got it. And I'll do you one more. You could jump up top here and then drop for here. Now, you're probably thinking, I've never thought of that. I've never done that. I never see anyone ever do that, right?
I actually do go there.
Oh, you do?
Often.
Okay, well, you're
not
a
in
wizard.
this game, but I do it quite a bit.
So it's good. It's good. My point being is, though, like, basically, the Overwatch maps give you options if you know when you need to have them. And right now you need to have them. You need to look for an angle on backline right here instead of just kind of standing here.
Yeah. And the cast plays well. Like, I have some issues with him this round.
He does. He does. And this comp, to be very clear, is going to cause you some issues.
Here's a good moment.
Oh, wait, what?
Here's a good moment. It's going to be funny in a second.
Well, first off, this is very impressive.
I live with 1 HP, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to get the health pack. But it doesn't go that well.
Well, Cassie Torbjorn. Tough composition to play into. A much less squishy backline, much more punishing. They can poke you out while you're trying to dive, like an Ashe, but they're also a lot tankier to dive. The good news is that, again, your job is not to kill always, it's to threaten the kill and then create space through that. So right now, with where your team is at, where should you be jumping right now?
Definitely high ground.
Definitely high ground. You got it. And there it is. Tracer's in, so frankly, I would be considered going in as well right now. This is where, again, I just don't like the bubbles. I know you're like,
trying to avoid the cast damage, but it's just not a good one.
Just go, right? Avoid the cast damage and get better at bubbling around his fan, right? That's a skill issue. That's on you, right? You can do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I shouldn't have bubbled here,
right.
For sure.
I want to point something out very amusing, by the way. That is your Lifeweaver's pedal. So...
It didn't even dawn on me until you pointed it out.
Yeah. So this is just, oh, you didn't have bubble in time, and honestly, this is a bad Primal Rage, because I don't mind you jumping, bubbling, then using Primal Rage, but you're down to. This is not gonna.
Yeah, I just had to use it to live there.
But you don't need to live. You need to die. This fight is over. You've messed up your engage. Your Lifeweaver just enabled the enemy team more than he's enabled your team, and so now it's time to just reset and go next. It's key to point out, though, that you needed more confidence, aggressively bubble trading. And that's pretty much all there really is to it. You can't do... That's kind of like where the mechanics come in. You're like, oh, I'm not confident in taking the Cassidy 1v1. Skill issue, right? And we've established that you're aware of that, but it's good to point out that that's the kind of mechanical stuff I'm looking for from you.
Yeah.
You need to get out. You need to get all the way out. You need to get all the way out. Because even here, like, your team is not back yet. Your team is not back yet. Like, you have Weaver and Spawn. You cannot take this fight right now. Because you're just taking damage. This is not even a bad jump. Like, this is a much better mechanical jump. Because you actually land, bubble, and make it awkward for him to fan you. You see that? That was a good jump. But
Yeah.
you really should not have done that without your life Weaver, is my point. Moment of truth right now. What should you do right now? This is a bait.
Probably get out. That kind of thing.
I don't even know if you should get out because it is a 4v4 now, right? Your Pharah is dead, but their Mercy's dead. The answer is
that's true.
nothing.
So backline, I guess.
No.
Nothing. Okay, just
nothing,
set up and
nothing.
wait.
Because remember when we said you don't have bubble, you don't jump backline, right? And then we were like, okay, there's exceptions to the rule, right? Like somebody's low, somebody's 1. I don't need bubble. I'm fully... Okay, look at the situation here. Do you see anything that looks particularly juicy without bubble?
No.
No, because you see what the Kiriko is escorted by, right?
Yeah, Torb is tough.
Torb is very tough. Torb will ruin your day. This is not an engage you can take without bubble. So the crucial thing is that I want Mercy Valk pocket on your Tracer, not on you. So if you jump in, and I think you're going to demand double pocket, and that's going to not be useful for... Because Tracer can do something now. You can't. Okay. Your Tracer feeds. I actually kind of like this. So you take the downtime to rotate. That's good. But again, like really clearly, you need to do nothing still. Like even alt fire can be risky. Oh, your Mercy. What is your Mercy doing? This is fine. This is fine. I think this fight starts poorly from your end because you took a little too much damage before your Weaver was there. You took the initiation before your Weaver was there. But beyond that, I think it's okay. Okay, let's keep going here. We're not about blaming teammates here, but I have to point out every time it happens, Bastion is awful versus what they are playing. Legitimately might be one of the worst, if not the worst Bastion composition possible, with the exception of maybe being like if Kiriko was like an Ana or a Zen. But I love that people go like, oh, Orissa's running us over. Let's go a DPS here that's awful versus Orisa. Gotta love it. Okay. Setup.
People in gold love their Bastion swaps.
They love their Bastion swaps. Trust me, people in Plat and Diamond too. What do you think about your setup here?
I don't love it. But I don't think it's the worst either. Because the Orisa's not looking at me. I think I go for the sports here, which is not a bad decision.
I mean, what would you do differently is I guess my question.
Normally, I would say go top, but I don't think that's the play here, and that's kind of why I'm where I'm at.
Why not?
So yeah, I guess it kind of is the better decision.
I think this is fine. I don't think there's a good option here. Remember, we've talked about this. This is just a bad Winston point. It's very flat. The only thing you really can do is flank. This is also the flank where nobody's here. You really don't want to run into Cassidy and Torbjorn on the flank as Winston, right? You want to avoid them if you can, or at least set up a good engage on them when they're not expecting it, right? It's not that you can't jump Torbacast, it's just not always your first choice. So this is the only really vacant flank in the entire point right now, because even high ground is contested right now. And you could jump this, this would be fine, but I think either one of these is fine. This is good. This is good. Now, I want to be very clear about what is likely to happen when you jump here, right? Maybe not in this particular fight, but in most fights in these situations, you're going to jump backline, you're going to bubble, and what is the entire cavalry going to do?
They're all going to turn.
They're all going to turn. They're all going to turn and use resources, which is exactly what your Bastion needs, what your Mercy needs, your Tracer needs, your Life Weaver needs. The question is are you going to be able to live that and then be able to know where you're going afterwards? Oh, you need to go. You need to stop alt firing. All fire is good if the damage output of the target or the enemy team is really, really low. But I wouldn't even alt fire versus a squish your composition here because I just want to jump. I want damage now. You need to stop being so hesitant here. It needs to be a decisive engage from a decisive angle with a decisive escape route. You kind of get what I'm saying? Because here you're not tanking. You're not tanking. That your Weaver, if he's flaming you now, is right there because in that particular fight you didn't do anything. You did not bait any attention. You did not force resources. You were there. This is fine.
Yeah, I think I just saw that they got a pick on the Bastion, and I just didn't engage at all.
Right, but even leading up to this, like I
should have engaged before they got the pick on the Bastion.
Your team is here. It's time to go. There's your team play, right? Because your Mercy's gonna die no matter what you do. But yeah, shockingly, okay, I'm sorry here. We just have to. Wow, who would have thought? All right, let's get going here. Don't alt fire. Don't alt fire these guys. They will ruin you. They will ruin you.
They got too much poke for it.
Keep an eye on that. It's funny. It's not even that they do more damage than the 50 damage or whatever that I do with alt fire. Because you could alt fire like a soldier, and he technically might do more damage than you, but because his health pool is a lot smaller than yours, right? But like, it's disproportionate almost always in these situations. I like the setup. You need to go. You need to go. I mean, that's about as good as you're going to get. And hey, you got the follow-up. Nice. I mean, that's it, right? Like, look what happens, right? So they don't really pay a lot of attention to you. Your engage is a little awkward, but you do get Kiriko. You do get Torb. Mercy repositions. Torbjorn repositions. Kiriko gets really split. She can't heal the Torb. Torb pops Q and dies immediately. And you maintain a decent amount of HP and then disengage to the other side of cart. This is good. You see it? It's good. Now, it took an ultimate to do it, but that's okay. You're zapping her. This is okay. There's nothing else better. But then now you have bubble again, so you go back to turn to backline. You just need to use your bubble. I think when you have Q, you forget about normal Winston things, and you start to force primal Winston things, but that's the mistake. This bubble needs to be popped right now. You need to be murdering these guys, and then pop primal when you absolutely have to, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It does.
Because by the time Primal Rage ends, you'll be like 3 or 4 seconds away from yet another bubble. But, all that being said, very reasonable fight from you once you actually set up and engage and stop hesitating. The worst thing you can do is be indecisive. It is better to take an angle, to set up, decisively commit on backline, and oh no, I needed an escape route, or oh no, my teammates weren't ready. Than it is to just build bad habits of hesitation. Hesitation's defeat, like they say. So, I don't hate the setup here. You can try to zone the 2v1 here if you'd like to. This is not going to be any better because now you're just face taking damage, and then now you've also given up the angle that you should have been contesting. You see it?
Yeah.
You're looking for squishies. If a squishy contests you on the angle, go ahead.
I think my decision was like, I'm just going to drop and then go back up in a second.
Gotcha.
But then it didn't pay off because like they got a pick because I dropped and gave up that space.
Yeah, gotcha. It happens. It happens. What I would say is, if they contest you on your setup, like let's go back to this flank here, and this is going to happen, like especially as you get higher in rank. Is people will go, oh, Winston's flanking. I need to fight this Winston. It's a smart move from them, really. But if they contest you on the setup, you have two choices. You need to disengage quickly and find a different angle, or you just take the fight. You just take the fight. Because you are still tanking, if you think about it, right? You're still tanking. Because you're being, oh, you guys want to utilize this high ground? No. I'm going to keep your attention and bait your attention, force 2 resources for 1 for 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 seconds, and then get out. That's tanking. Tanking is saying, hey, look at me, watch out. Look at me, watch out, right? You see? So I appreciate what you're doing here because you're like, I'm going to disengage and then re-engage that angle, right? I actually think that's pretty good. But just in case, I want you to know that it's not...
Oh yeah, this is the pull I was talking about. He pulls me off of the backline straight into Arisa's face.
This is bad mechanics, but the right idea. And by mechanics, I mean where you engaged. Blind engaged, right? You see this?
Yeah.
Maybe you're worried about point, so let's just cut you a little bit of slack. But there needs to be damage tied to this attention. That makes even more attention, right?
Right.
That being said, this is still, like, you are still technically tanking here. You see it? And then you even turned the Kiriko even better. And so you might even get the kill there. And yeah, there you go. Nice. Your Tracer's playing really well.
Yeah, our Tracer does play really well.
Yeah, this is like one of those fights where if you're just a little bit better with your jumps, a little bit better with your bubbles, a little bit more damage, a little bit better setup, like you guys hold this fight. You guys hold this fight. And I think this is kind of like where you're like, you know, my Weaver trolls this fight because he pulls me out, right? But I'm telling you, even with a trolling Weaver, a Platinum Winston wins this fight right here. Wins this fight.
Yeah,
100%. Not even a lot better, just a little bit better, and you win this fight here. And I think that's kind of like going back to where we were talking about, like, carrying more fights. So let's keep going. We're going to try to wrap this up in a nice, tidy package here for you. Any questions so far?
No, I think so far I'm good.
Yeah, I think you've got the knowledge. And I can see that you've been putting some effort and practice, and you have some experience with this character, because you know kind of what you ought to be doing. Sometimes the execution just isn't super, super pretty, right? And we'll talk about, like, maybe what aspects are missing in that regard. They go with Soldier. Soldier's good. So I like Soldier as Winston. Soldier's quite an easy matchup. Not enough damage and very easy to kind of ruin. And this is, okay, so this is a great moment right here. Remember when we talked about, like, you either set up for backline or you set up on an angle and they contest the angle and then you fight them for that angle? Here we go again. Right, here we go again. I don't really see another backline approach here. And I don't know if I really want to have this Cassidy take high ground. So you know what you should do? You should fight this Cassidy. You should fight this Cassidy.
Yeah.
Now, you don't need to worry about him until he comes out, right? You don't need to go in to push him out. But yeah, this is fine. And see, that's the mistake that your Tracer makes. If your Tracer makes this mistake, then I think you following up here was the right play, right?
That's kind of why I did it. When Tracer went in, I did too.
Yeah. That is, like, I'm going to be very clear. That one is, that was good from you. Very good. And then now you just need to disengage. Good. I would wait an extra second, just get a little bit of extra HP. Get a little bit of that armor here. Just chill. Wait, like, I mean, your bubble still is also not quite off, so I'd probably wait 1 or 2 seconds here. Or hey, look at there, right? And then
I
do
didn't
the
even
exact same.
see that Kiriko.
Yeah.
That's who I should have went for, but I didn't even know she was there.
I don't know. This is really good. This is contesting that angle, right? This is, again, what tanking's supposed to do. The key thing is you just want to be on a squishy target most of the time. So you have a bubble. Actually, the mechanics of this engage, your setup, your approach in this engage are perfect. It's literally only the HP. That's my problem.
I gotcha.
And it shows. Good stuff. No. Give him a tick. You have no bubble. You don't have the HP. It's a freaking Orisa. Do not engage. You see how much of a hindrance you are here? Like how useless you are?
Yeah,
like,
I'm just a resource sponge, pretty much.
You at some point needed to deal with the Orisa capping point. But you needed to do so after the Soldier was dead and when you had bubble. Right, because you could actually take the trade here now, but it's too late now. You're 1 HP. Also, I really, really, really want to see your Brig die in point. Like I really just want to see how your Brig is playing this. I have a desperate need. We will extend our session by 3 minutes just to enjoy this gameplay.
Off tank Brig. You get a lot of that in lower ranks too.
Right, she's gonna.
They run straight at the Orisa. She's
gonna do it again. She's gonna do it again. Yeah. Yeah, brilliant, incredible, awe-inspiring even.
I mean, we don't need 6v6 back when Brig's meta.
That's true. We just have the Brig do her thing. Yeah, I mean that goes without saying. Like you're giving the Orisa what she wants when you're doing that. Is essentially what she's like. Orisa versus Winston is actually, I don't even know if I'd call Orisa a soft counter to Winston. It might be in like lower rings because Winston players in lower rings. Like even you, right? You're a smart guy. You're still struggling with that, right? Because you feel this need. I have to worry about point. I have to worry about my backline.
Like most of the time, I ignore her, but there are times where I feel like I have to engage her.
Understandable, right? Understandable, right? But I think Orisa's not even. I don't even know if she's a soft counter. She's just so easy to avoid. I think Roadhog is way harder. I don't know how you feel about it. But like the hook.
I would rather play against Orisa as a Roadhog on Winston. I hate playing against Roadhogs, period.
Yeah, Roadhogs are the worst. Roadhogs are the worst. And Diva was difficult prior to the armor changes here, so. This is fine. I don't know if it's necessary with the high ground above point.
This is where I completely feed because I fat finger my bubble.
Yeah. But do you understand what I'm saying with the setup? You don't have to flank here.
Yeah.
You don't have to flank. Oh, no.
When I went to press W, I hit E as I was jumping.
Now, I'm going to make a point here. Do you think the timing of this engage was good with the information that you had prior to this engage?
No.
Why?
Because I think I should wait a couple of seconds where they're engaging in the rest of my team.
Yeah, literally a couple of seconds, I think, is a great... Like, as soon as the cart is, like, just right, bam, right there, they're, like, really getting on your Ashe, that's when you go. Yeah, I agree. I think you're really close. I think literally 2 seconds, I think you would have been fine. But yeah. And again, I want to emphasize that just because that is the team play aspect that you were asking about earlier. That's really 99% of team play right there. Is my team in a position to follow up? Because the other aspect is like, you just don't know what they're going to do. You don't know if they're going to do the right thing. You don't know if they're going to do the wrong thing. You need to stop taking damage. You need to set up. Thank you. Your team will be ready. Let's in the downtime, right? This is when you need to check your team. You can see through walls.
This is the longest, ugliest team fight. I'm just gonna warn you right now.
I'm ready for it. Okay, you're close. I think you need about another 7 or 8 seconds before you go. So just keep that in mind and don't take any damage. Don't ult fire. Don't do anything. Yeah, this is bad. The setup is okay, just not now. Just wait.
I'm just going too early. Yeah.
You're going too early, right? Your Ashe is just not quite there yet. So. Because I think what you're doing here in team, it's okay. You needed to like have like a nice juicy bubble jump on that guy to force more resources, but mechanics aside, the timing is still wrong. Now let's actually focus on the mechanics and setup here just a little bit. Let's pretend the timing is normal. Min max here. What would be the optimal engage, optimal setup for the optimal backline trade at this optimal time? What do you got? You know this map. You know where this fight's happening. Set up for me.
I kind of think I should go high ground above them.
I think so too. I like that you're here, but what I would do is I would just sit here and I'd jump up here. Bam. Then I drop. Right? That way I get a much better cleave, a surprise.
I think until I saw the soldier, that's what I was planning on doing. Then the plan just kind of just fell apart.
Sure, but then if you see the soldier, just jump the soldier. Get that landing damage. You get what I'm saying? Get that landing damage. Get on his face. You know, and I think that especially because you have primal, you don't need to worry about disengaging here. You're fine. Obviously, again, we're still ignoring the timing issues here, but yeah. Yeah, and then obviously now it's like you needed to be in on. Wait, okay, so your Bob is up, so maybe it's winnable, but I really don't think this primal was smart. I'm not gonna lie with you. Like, I see this, it's over. It's over. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, they have an active Kitsune, they have an active Rally, and you're down 2. There's just no way that you win this. Now, you do, or you come close to. But I think, like, realistically, I don't think that it should work. Good. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say here. Good tracking, good shots. This is beautiful. Good stuff on that. Really, really important that you locked in on that Kiriko. Like, really, really important. It would have been so easy in this devolve scenario to just kind of, like, turn your brain off, focus Orisa, but you didn't. You killed both supports. That's how you kill Orisa. That was so good. Okay. And just because I'm a little bit of I get apparently a masochist, we have to finish this. We have to finish this off here with sorry. She's dead immediately. Immediately. Ah, man. I mean, oh, jeez.
I wish I had. I was gonna save it and show it to you just for like content purposes. I had a replay code I was gonna get from a game I had Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know, day of patches and not long after a rank reset, you get some funny games. I had a game that the other tank had 92 kills. My supports.
Wait, 92?
92. My supports had 32 and 35 deaths each.
Oh my gosh. Do you still have? You wait, it
But
got wiped. You said.
but it didn't get wiped. I just forgot to save it, and it's not in my history anymore.
Oh wait, are you sure? Like history is pretty big nowadays. You should double check. Like
Let
look
me
at how
look.
it's
Let
like
me look.
50
It's
games
so
now.
funny.
It's like 50 games now.
But we actually won the game.
That's incredible. Okay,
I just like
if you
they
do get
went
it, please send it
diva.
to me because you could.
Yeah,
Yeah, go
they
ahead.
went diva, and he was just like just rolling the rest of my team, and I couldn't do anything. So on defense, like or that was on defense. When we went offense, I just went hog, which I never play, and just like anchored point the entire time, and like just let the diva just kill my backline on repeat and just push the cart, and we ended up winning the
Yeah,
game.
that's incredible. I mean, yeah, at some point, it's kind of like that at Numbani first point, like where it's like, oh, you should be diving backline, not killing. But if it is the last tick, you do have to play the objective, right? Like at some point. But yeah, okay. So that seriously, if you as soon as this calls it, if you have this time, I would love that replay code. I would love to look at that.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to find it.
Okay, so let's take some notes here. So I think your theory of Winston is fine, which is why you're not bronze or silver or whatever. Like you're where are you at? Like gold 5?
Uh, I think this season I'm gold. Like I went way down after rank resets.
Okay.
I think I'm gold 5 right now.
Okay, so gold 5. So what do you got? What needs to be done better? What were some small goals we can set here?
Uh, I feel like the setups were decent, but it was almost like the timing going in after the setup is an issue that I was having.
Too engaged. To make sure they're fighting something. Even tank, right? Like, I mean, really, that's often what happens is it ends up being a tank trade where you go for backline, their tank fights your backline. Which tank does a better job demanding fewer resources, does more damage, forces more CDs, rinse and repeat kind of a thing. Okay, what else?
I think something I've been trying to work on, or I haven't really like actively worked on it, but I've noticed it's an issue, is trying to like poke before the fight, doing that alt fire thing. I just feel like it's kind of unnecessary. I'm like taking poke before the fight starts because I'm trying to poke out and peek out and alt fire people.
Mm-hmm. But that's
I think look for more optimal positions for the setups.
keep looking optimal setups.
I don't feel like bubble usage is terrible for me all the time, but there are times where it could definitely be better.
And finally, don't worry too much about your team. Worry about your job. I think for the most part you're okay with this, but there's a couple of crucial moments where you lost fights because of this.
Yeah.
And you are going to have teammates that are going to talk about this. You're going to. So you're gonna have to be a strong soldier. Like you're gonna have to trust this process, trust the system. Otherwise, your gold brigaders are gonna micro you around.
It's so bizarre, like the tank experience now. It's like it's your fault anytime anything's going wrong.
Oh yeah, for
Doesn't
sure.
matter.
Well, you're
Doesn't
just the
matter
most
who's
obvious.
feeding, who's doing
You're the most
what.
obvious.
Like,
I'm gonna make a video. I feel like I need to make a video about this, but this is. I feel like for a lot of support heroes like Lifeweaver and like a lot of the more heal bot heroes, support might be the easiest role, and they have the most entitled positioning because you can see everybody's quote unquote mistakes, and so you misinterpret any sort of proactivity or anything that doesn't involve the tank trade as a mistake, and so like I mean. it's tough. It's tough, and I know you are a support player here, so maybe I'm throwing you under the bus too. But
I mean, I'm a support player, but I'm an on a brig main, so it's
true,
a
true.
little bit different
That's
than
true, true.
Mercy Life Weavers.
That's true. That's true. The real skill expression. So, but yeah. Okay. Any questions?
No, I think I'm good.